joining us. You're in the right place. You are making the most of your Dev Days already because you're here at the Find Your Way Around Dev Days virtual, where I will be introducing you to all the sessions that we have, how to make the most of it, how to plan your agenda, some highlights on the program, how to socialize. We're super excited. Everyone is also here in Amsterdam coming into the B building. My colleague here is giving the introduction to in the next room for physical attendees, but here I will take you to everything that we have for our virtual participants. So thank you very much for joining us. Let's see if I can get my slide to go forward. There we are. Good. So my name is Weistra, and I am the content lead for FHIR DevDays. So responsible here for all the talks that are on the agenda. And in my day job normally, because FHIR is not just about Dev Days, I am the product lead for all our data modeling tools. So Forge, Simplifier, FHIR Terminal. That's what I normally do. But as I mentioned, FHIR is many things. So FHIR is the organizer of FHIR DevDays, together with HL7. But FHIR was also one of the original initiators of the FHIR specification. Our CTO, Ewout Kramer, was one of the original people writing the FHIR spec. And since then, we've been building tools and giving trainings and organizing FHIR Dev Days and doing consultancy to get you started with FHIR. And part of this are our toolings that we developed. So FHIR server you see here, simplifier.net. FHIR server is our FHIR server. Simplifier.net is our tools to develop FHIR specifications. And then we also maintain the open source .NET SDK that you can use to build your tools. So that's just a bit about me. But then we're here, of course, for Dev Days itself. And I just want to take you through what the goals are for Dev Days. So we try to focus, well, first of all, on teaching you things, teaching you FHIR and all the different things that you need to know with FHIR on many different levels, basic to advanced. But we're also, we recognize that interoperability isn't just about knowing the right tools, knowing the right programming languages, but it's really about being a community and wanting to interoperate with each other, work together. So we're really working on community building. So whether you're here in person or whether you're joining us virtually, we really try to make sure that you don't just passively need to watch what's going on, but also that you're able to have communication and work together with other people and learn other people. I'm just going to make a note for the technique. There are some people coming into the waiting room. Do you see that? Just make sure that they don't get stuck there. Nice, thank you. And of course, adoption of FHIR, that's what we are about. So we've been pushing this since the beginning of FHIR Dev Days. Yeah, we keep growing. We have, I think, more than 500 people joining us with Dev Days this year. And you see here a picture of the B building where we are currently presenting here in Amsterdam. Good. What are our priorities? So we try to focus here on the implementer. So it's more about building a FHIR specification, working with it, implementing it in your situation to make actually the dream come true from FHIR, rather than developing data models. We have a wide variety of content. I'll go over the different talks that we have in a moment. We try to be very welcoming and have a very low barrier to entry to come in here. So you will see everyone very welcome, happy to share, ask anyone questions. That's really the FHIR community spirit. And we try to do things a little bit differently here. So we have tried to be have an interesting tone of voice and do a lot of fun things during the event too, just to make sure that we bond and that it's fun to come here, not just for the things that you learn. And we try to do new things every time, and that's also stuff that we'll introduce. So one of the most important things is that you look at the entire schedule and that you try to make it yours, because there's so much going on. We have more than 140 talks over these 4 days. And if you just enter blank, then you will be overrun by a train of 5 parallel sessions where you don't know what to choose, what to attend in person, what to listen to live, what to watch back later in the recordings. So make sure that you go to Whova that you look at the entire agenda there, and that you make sure that you add your sessions that you want to attend to your agenda, so you know exactly when the one session ends, you know where to go next. Whova is really the main central point of this entire virtual conference. So make sure that you have that on your phone, have it in the web app. You have an email from the organizers where to access those. Yeah, Whova is the one that's always up to date, so that one changes on the last minute. There's also, Whova is really nice for all sessions, but it's a bit harder to see what's going on in parallel. So we also have a really nice PDF overview. So if you go to the program page on devdays.com, you see that PDF schedule. And there you can easily see what's side by side, but things can change, like speakers can miss their flight, etc. So this is not always up to date. So make sure that you check Whova to make sure that you're actually looking at the latest data. By the way, these slides are already attached to the Whova session. So if you want to click a link, or if you want to browse back to the previous slide, just download those slides and you can follow along. Then, yeah, so this is the PDF preview. If you look in the agenda, there's many different ways to filter on that. We have different tracks. Tracks is a bit of an overloaded word, but these are basically tags to see what's an advanced talk, what's a beginner talk, what are the different types of talks, and I'll come back to that in a moment. But also there are some labels, which ones are streamed, which ones are not streamed, which are recorded, which are not recorded. And that's something I'll come back to. Everything that you go to, you do it via Whova. Whether it eventually ends up somewhere else, that's all fine, but the links are all in Whova. So go to the session, and then generally on a session like this, you will either open Zoom within your Whova browser. It would just work directly in the browser, or you can click the button to open it up in your external Zoom application, which can work better in some situations. So you can always open it in the Zoom app separately, but you can always enter that via Whova. Your Q&A, also right now, please enter those within Whova. You will be unable in Zoom to chat or to ask questions. Always do that within Whova. That's something that my virtual moderator here, Ardon, is right now monitoring, and is also going to put those questions to me at the end of the session. That's also something that I, as a speaker, can look at during the event and still answer your questions going on later. So please always put your questions there, and then people can come back to that. There are also some virtual social sessions, and I'll talk you through which those are. And generally we do those in spatial chat, which is something that looks a bit like this. It tries to mimic a bit more I can stand closer to someone, I can walk a bit away. So you see the little bubbles there, and the little bubbles are different people calling in. So this is Marita and this is Reen. And you can walk around kind of and talk to each other. So that's where we'll do the social sessions, and I'll talk about those in a moment. Okay, so the different types of content on the agenda. We have keynotes every day, plenary sessions. Actually, not every day, not today, because today is kind of the pre-conference introduction day. But tomorrow morning, we start off with some plenary sessions. At the end of the day, we have some keynotes. And these are meant as inspirational sessions, not always directly about FHIR. But always relevant in some kind of perspective to your work, and just meant to keep you going and know why you're doing this, and not just for the code of it. Then tutorials are really the educational heart of the program. So 45-minute sessions where you have 10 minutes for Q&A, and that's where someone will explain some kind of core topic within the FHIR specification. So what you're looking at currently is a tutorial. But you have tutorials on FHIR or CQL or all these different things. So really the educational sessions. Then the community talks are half the size. So you will often see that in the 45-minute slot, there are 2 community talks scheduled after each other. They will be in the same room, in the same Zoom link. Is that the Zoom link? Actually, well, the links are all in Whova, so make sure you go there. And they are more about implementer experiences. So people who have taken the FHIR specification, implemented it, and they learned something. So it's really learning from the field rather than the theory. And then there's a set of sponsored sessions. So I'll come back to the sponsors in a moment, but We're very grateful for the sponsors, and they have some talks on the agenda, generally after the keynotes, that you can follow. Then there's 2 types of sessions that you will see in the agenda, but are not available to the virtual audience. And this is really because we've learned over the virtual sessions from DevDays that they just don't work as well for a remote audience. And this is the Let's Build, where you sit in the room, someone will show you code, people will grab their laptop, will code along. And those are also 45-minute slots. They're all marked in the agenda as Let's Build, and they also are marked as will not be streamed, will not be recorded. Same for the Birds of a Feather session. So these are kind of cutting edge topics where people will come together, sit in a room, discuss their use cases. Again, that works way better in person, so they are not streamed or not recorded. Speaking of recordings and slides, so I already alluded to the slides. We try to make those slides available before the session in the agenda whenever we have them. So if the speakers have shared that with us, and we definitely tried, then we add them to the agenda beforehand, so you can follow along. The recordings, this session is being recorded, and almost every session is that's being streamed. They will be made available within 24 hours within Whova first. So tomorrow you will be able to go to this session in Whova and see a link there for the recording. After DevDays, they will be in Whova for a while, but afterwards you'll get an email where to find them, and that's probably on Vimeo. And you'll get, as an attendee, you will get exclusive access to all those videos from the entire conference for the coming 6 months. So that's really a bulk of learning. Every talk that you weren't able to attend live, will be able to watch back that. And then after 6 months, we always make them available to the wide public, so everyone can benefit from all the knowledge that we film here. And they're all available on youtube.com/devdays. So you can also watch back there now all our previous years if you want to learn something. As I said, not every session is recorded. So this Let's Build and the Birds of a Feather sessions are not streamed or recorded. And then the social events, they are streamed. So the ones that I'll show in a moment, but they are not being recorded. And so this is really important for your planning. If you want to attend those social events, but also if you want to join in the Q&A of a session, you might want to prioritize going there live, where other sessions you might schedule for watching them back later. I think there's 2 exceptions to these general rules. So there's one Birds of a Feather that is actually streamed and recorded. So that's the one from Nikolai, but it's also marked in the agenda. And there's one talk that is streamed but is not recorded, and that's the one from AWS, I think Mitchell Malik. But again, that's marked in the agenda, so watch out for those labels that we point out here. As I said, Q&A always via Whova, not via Zoom. The moderator will monitor those, and the speaker will be able to answer them at the end of the session or later. So you see the Q&A and the chat. You should see that in the mobile Whova, in the online in the web Whova, and there you can put questions and communicate with your fellow people. Highlights of the agenda. Today is mostly about introductions. So we have many different introductions on the agenda. Now we have the introductions to FHIR DevDays, and then we'll have introductions to FHIR, and then to the FHIR REST API, FHIR Messages, HAPI, etc. There's many more. Look at the schedule. Also later today, I'll present together with Diego the outcomes from our DevDays State of FHIR survey. First time we do that, so that's another addition that you could watch today. So today is kind of pre-conference day about introductions. Then some highlights from Wednesday. We have a nerd track. This is just one of our fun things where we ask everyone, and you can still actually join if you want to. If you have a project, and it doesn't need to be about FHIR, where you spend way too much time as a nerd trying to get it nicely optimized and automated and stuff, way more than it's actually worth just for the fun of it, then this is a place where you can present this. I know, for example, Dan from HL7 has submitted his project where he has these 2 beautiful turtles that he has completely automated his entire terrarium for all the temperature and all the webcams and stuff. So if you have something like that, feel free to submit that to the nerd track, and you can find the link in the devdays.com in the program. Another session will focus on women for FHIR, and this is where we have a panel of some outstanding community members who will share their experiences and will share why it's important to be inclusive when we're making rules about healthcare for everyone, and make sure that we have everyone's perspective in there. So there's a panel, and there will also be ways to reach out to them and discuss and ask questions already beforehand. In Whova, you can already go to the community tab, and there's also solicitation for questions for them if you want to submit those beforehand. Some highlights from Thursday. Well, Thursday is kind of our green day, where we try to stand still and reflect on that. Of course, flying around the world for a conference has a lot of impact on the environment. So what can we do in healthcare to make sure that this world will stay around? One of those efforts is from Maria Koik, who is speaking in that morning, and she will be showing an art project that she has done around waste that is being generated within a general operation. And she has some really beautiful visualizations to help you realize how wasteful we can still be there, and we can improve on that. Speaking of new generations, we also have a student track. Student track is back. We have had that for many years, but not for the last few years. And we have a record number of teams, 7 teams for different universities, coming to Amsterdam, working on a project where they interoperate with FHIR. They're learning from the best here. They have a reduced price to come here. And they will compete. They will do pitches on their projects in the plenary hall. There's a pitches session on the agenda, and they will compete for a moment on the plenary stage where they can present, the winning team can present their project to the entire audience. So very fun to attend and to go to on Thursday. And then I want to highlight some other efforts that we have at DevDays. So with our keynotes, we try to highlight, again, the inspirational sessions. Why are we doing this? We're improving healthcare, of course, not just for the fun of it, but because we want better outcomes. And that can mean many different stakeholders, but one of them is the patient voice, and Brenda Shipley from the Sequoia project will talk on Wednesday, and she will really share that patient perspective and how important it is to get data and work together with doctors, make sure people have ownership over their own health and their health data. The doctor is another stakeholder. Emma Bruns is a famous Dutch doctor and columnist, and she will share the doctor perspective. And then on Friday, we have Dawn Downing, who will share the nurse perspective and where the nurse comes in all of this, often overlooked within our health IT systems. Sponsors, I mentioned them before. We're very grateful to them. So gold sponsors are DMI, German Institute, and Google Cloud. And they will have some sponsored sessions also on Wednesday and Thursday. You can meet all of them in the Whova app if you go to the sponsors, and they have kind of a virtual booth where you can reach out to them. And then, of course, DevDays is organized by HL7 and FHIRly, and Fireball is our business alliance for small FHIR companies, who is a partner of this entire event. There are some social events that happen in Amsterdam here, but we also try to give you a very social experience. So we have some sessions that are deliberately only for virtual attendees like you. We have meet and greets with the keynote speakers. So if you're in Amsterdam, of course, you can just walk up to them, but we take them, try to put them in a room and put them in spatial chat. I will be hosting many of these myself. And then you can ask them any question. Just jump in, ask any question in person, discuss with them on your latest project or pet topic that you want to discuss with them. So that's about the keynote speakers, and the fireside chats here, or the Ask Me Anythings, are basically the same, but then for some very well-known FHIR community members. So Graham, Josh, Ewout, Lloyd, James, they will have some sessions where we also put them in a room and you can ask them anything, any question that you also, when you were here in person, you might walk up to them and ask them. And that all happens in Spatial Chat. Spatial Chat opens on Wednesday morning when we have the first Ask Me Anything with Josh and James, I think. And then that link will stay open. So you can also host a meetup with your friends in there whenever there's not another session. The meet and greets are here on Thursday and on Friday. So Maria Koik, the artist I mentioned, Brent Shipley, who is from the Patient Voice, so the Square project, and then Dan Dowding on Friday on the nurse perspective. And the Ask Me Anythings are on Wednesday, and one with James and Joyce, and one with Graham, Lloyd, and Ewout. So save your questions for those. And then there's also some other fun stuff. So we're doing yoga on site, but we also have special virtual yoga. So chair yoga, you can just Zoom into this meeting. These are held in Zoom. Join to a moment to relax because you're 4 days behind a computer. That's very intensive. So go here and just you can stretch your neck and shoulders and back, or do some mindfulness on the last day. Very enjoyable to join. So we definitely go there for a well-deserved break. Networking. In Whova, you find the agenda, but you also find this community board where you see many different questions already there. Some of them are very serious. You can ask the organizer stuff and these kind of things, but you can also discuss any topic that you want. So you go there, fill in your icebreaker in Whova. It's a nice way for people to interact. You can also suggest some meetups on specific topics with virtual attendees. You can share your experience, how you're watching this, and from where. It's very interesting to know how we're coming from all over the world. I think we had like 50 different countries or something. What did we say this morning? So that's all happening in Whova. Make sure that you check that out. Whova is only for this event though. Afterwards, the entire FHIR community comes together on chat.fhir.org. So make sure that you are a member of chat.fhir.org. You can just sign up for an account. And here are some interesting channels that you could go. So there is a hashtag DevDays where you could go. That is specifically to talk about DevDays. And then social and implementers are channels to either socialize or to ask a specific implementer question. This stays around for the entire year, so that might be a nice way to learn more from the FHIR community. Again, we have the spatial chat for the different social events for virtual attendees. And then, of course, you can always reach everyone on the different social media, and make sure you use the hashtag FHIR DevDays. So after DevDays, again, you will have access to the contents, 6 months just for you as an attendee. And then that will stay in Whova first. Then you get an email, probably in Vimeo. And then after 6 months, we'll make it available for everyone so you can share it with your colleagues. Stay connected on chat.fhir.org, and also make sure that you join later events if you want. So there's the Connected on a Working Group meeting in September that I will be going to in Phoenix, but also next year DevDays. We'll be in the USA. We'll probably also be virtual, or at least hybrid, and we'll be in June again. The exact dates, I'm not sure if we can announce those yet, because it's still being finalized, but make sure that you join that too, especially if you're in the US, join us in person next time. Good, so then I think the final thing to say is that where you can get some more help, there is a devdays.com/FAQ where we answer many frequently asked questions, like when are the slides available and when are the videos available? That's the first place to go. If you don't find anything there, go to the community chat in Whova and ask the organizers anything channel, and there you can ask them anything. You can also reach us on Zulip. We monitor that. And if nothing else works, you can always reach us via email too. Let's hope your email still works. If your Wi-Fi is down, we cannot help you. Yeah, that's it for my program details. You can reach me if you want to, always via the Whova app. In the speakers gallery, you can find me. send me a message. Reach me via email, ward@FHIR, or reach me via Twitter or on Zulip or LinkedIn or anywhere else. Oh yeah, maybe one final point, devdays.com/feedback. You can use this anywhere during this entire conference. You can use it for every session. So feel free to try it out. Go there, leave some feedback on my session. You can give it stars, you can give it a description, things you want to see next time, things you liked. But you can also use it for the entire conference. If you think we can do this better, there is also an option to give some general feedback on specific topics. And we would love to get that feedback so we can improve next year. Good. And I think that leaves plenty of time for questions. So I'm just gonna look at my moderator here. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. So the leaderboard is trying to incentivize good behavior on Whova. So if you're active participating in different community streams, for example, discussing that, if you're answering polls, if you go to sessions, if you add sessions to your agenda, if you suggest articles for other people to read, anything that you can interact with in Whova is kind of gamified, so you can end up on the leaderboard. Please don't just do it for the leaderboard. It's no one is very happy if you just put comments everywhere just to get up on the leaderboard. Yeah, perfect. If there's no more questions, then thank you very much. I'll just put those places where you can reach us again. If you have any other questions, during the entire event, we'll be monitoring this. And I just hope that you have a very eventful 4 days. And thank you for joining us.